And information is essential, but not sufficient for change. Because if it was enough, hey, we just get on YouTube. You know, as much time as most people spend on YouTube and Instagram, we'd all be pretty together people, right? And so what I've been telling parents for years, it's not how you fuck your kids up, because you're human. It's how you recover from how you fuck your kids up. Just what is underneath that. And I don't even know so much to find out who I am or what I'm supposed to be doing. But I think if we can even just get where we just accept ourselves, love ourselves, we're okay with ourselves, just as I sit today, you know, with how I'm aging, with maybe the gut that I've put on, or I haven't been to the gym as much as I want, or I think I should be making more money, or this relationship ended, or I'm struggling with the relationship with my kids, or what if that is exactly where we're supposed to be? And we can work at just getting okay with that. Now, I think we usually need help to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say,
doing that on our own is often just makes the struggle worse. But that's a whole nother discussion.
Sure. But yeah, that's what I want to go into that a little bit, because like, what does the work look like? Because I kind of ran in circles from 22 to 28, maybe like 27-ish, of like trying to figure this thing out on my own. Yeah. And just
how'd that work for you?
Not too great. Like just keeping the shame loop rolling, right? And then I just continued to see the nice guys show up without even understanding what it was. Because the only way I was ever able to get validation from my dad was never how well I did with baseball, never how good I did in school. It was how many girls I could bring home.
Really?
And that rooted in so much sex addiction, porn addiction, all these different things, until I really hurt some women. And then I overcompensated by trying to be a super nice guy, but still manipulatively to get what I wanted.
And you still hurt them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what did that, like, if I could go back and start doing more work to get to that point of feeling love for myself, what would you have done? And what would you have told me there?
I'd get you in some kind of group.
Okay.
Some kind of group. Luckily, that's where I started. You know, when we live in just an information saturated society, and you're putting more information out, I'm putting more information out. I mean, we got all the information we need. I work with so many guys, and they'll come to me, you know, I see your bookshelves, right? You know, all kinds of self-help books, self-improvement books. And, you know, I live in that world, right? I'm part of that world. I'm a creator in that world, right? And I'm a consumer of all that self-help stuff. And, you know, between YouTube and Instagram and audiobooks and seminars and workshops and events and intensives, there's more than enough information out there. And information is essential, but not sufficient for change. Because if it was enough, hey, just get on YouTube. You know, as much time as most people spend on YouTube and Instagram, we'd all be pretty together people, right? But the information isn't enough. And I often tell guys, stop reading books for a while. Stop going on YouTube. You know, stop attending workshops. You've had enough Tony Robbins. I tell guys, you probably have enough information to make significant change in your life. Like I'll go back to that story just in the last month. 2 coaches, all it took was a sentence or 2 from each coach. There was just a big stick. I go, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what to do. Action is essential. Now here's the problem. I'm going to misquote Einstein, but he basically said, the thinking that got us into the situation we're in is not going to get us out of the situation we're in. What happens is we get into an echo chamber in our head, and we just keep mulling the problem over with our own perceptions, our own way of viewing the world, our own way of thinking. Maybe we read, maybe we listen, but even if we're on social media, it's an echo chamber. It's got its algorithms. You look at one thing, well, you're going to get fed a lot of that. So you think, well, there's the answer. And so the short answer to your question is I tell people, don't do this alone. I say that in the very beginning of No More Mr. Nice Guy. Because if we could do it alone, you could pick the book up and read it, and you go, oh, okay, I'm done. I'm done being a nice guy. I figured it out. But I say we did not become a nice guy in social isolation. We're not going to break free from it in social isolation. So, for example, I tell people you need to get in with a safe person or a safe place, a coach, therapist, maybe a minister, a rabbi, maybe a good friend, maybe a 12-step group, men's group, divorce support group, somewhere, and start revealing your shame. Now, most of us don't even know we're carrying shame around. We may feel like we're a worthless person, but we've never called that shame. Shame is just those internalized messages, inaccurate, that say, I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. I'm unlovable. I'm defective. We got to get in safe places and start revealing the things about us we don't want people to know, or the things that we keep repeating in our head. And we need to get more accurate definitions of ourselves from people that aren't in our echo chamber. So like I started my personal recovery in a 12-step group for sex addicts. My second wife said, you're a sex addict. Now, so I started going to Sex Addicts Anonymous and quickly found out I wasn't having enough sex to be a sex addict. But I loved that place because I grew up in a fundamental Christian church, so hide everything, critical, angry father, hide everything, angry feminism, hide everything. And I'd go to this group, and it was a men's group. It was all guys. And most of them there were pretty hardcore, had some gnarly shit going on. And they're probably thinking, why is this guy here? Just because his wife doesn't want to have sex with him, you know? And so, but it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I loved going because for the first time in my life, I just would share about me, things I never told anybody, thoughts, feelings, impulses, actions, fears. And the only reaction was, thank you for sharing, Robert. And then I got a therapist, and then I joined a men's group, and I just kept revealing me. Nobody ever melted down. Nobody ever thought I was terrible. In fact, they would usually look at me with kindness and say, that must have been painful. Or, you know, that's actually pretty normal what you're talking about, what you're going through. Or let's see what that story's about. Or let's help you find a better way to do that. And it was all kind. And so that was such a shift for me where I could let go of that shame that I'm not good enough, I'm bad, or I got to hide these things about me. And so I learned to embrace myself. I learned to bring the shadow up to look at it where I could own it and it didn't, you know, operate down there in the shadow. So not only did I release shame, I learned to self-soothe. I got support from people to, you know, help me see, you know, how I was a good person, right? That's not the same thing as a nice guy in the way I define it, but I was a good person. I could love me. I let people love me. And so it was a process that is still evolving over time. I still have coaches. I still have a men's group. I'm still working on these pieces of just, you know, like I said, I've been working on this for 35 years. Men's program, men's group, good friends in my life coaches, nutrition coach. And it's not because I think I got to get better. It's like, there's just still more stuff to unravel, to uncover, to peel back. And it's actually kind of fun once you get going with it. Go, oh, that's cool. I didn't see that in there. I didn't see that coming.
I think that's an important nuance that you share where it's like the process of becoming is the process of unbecoming, right? So like,
I love that. That's cool.
The way so it seems like there's no final destination to this work because you're ultimately becoming you. You're trying to unravel like who you are at the core. And it's usually through subtraction. It's that concept of addition through subtraction.
Yeah.
So what these groups really helped me do, because I used to hate the word safe space. When my guard was up, I was like, that's gay. That's like, I will not don't talk to me about your safe space. You probably voted for Biden and Kamala Harris, and I don't want to be around you. So that's
a pretty broad sweep right there.
And so with that, when I started to just get around other men, and you essentially just like, you're just open to being vulnerable and sharing things, you start to realize, one, a lot of people resonate. It's your problem is not that serious because everyone's kind of going through relatively
and not that unique.
Yes, exactly. And so that safe space provides the opportunity to uncover all the lies that you're telling yourself, which then allows you to get to the true version of you. So you're no longer even like adding anything. You're simply just subtracting to find out that you already have what you need the entire time.
I don't have to become a better person. I just have to be more me.
Yeah.
Just be me. And you know, so let's run with this for a minute.
Yep.
Yeah, I did my deepest work early on in men's groups. And like I said, 8, 9 years ago in a new marriage, feeling isolated, I said, I need a men's group. It found me. And it just changed my life. My marriage would not have made it if I had not had that support of men. And when I was in private practice in the Seattle area before I moved to Mexico, I was leading 5 men's groups a week. And so I'm just such a believer of men just need men to live our best lives. Yep. And we men get so isolated from other men, either because we're too busy, or like maybe like me, we're trying to be different from our dads, or maybe we got bullied while we're young, or we think men are just superficial and shallow. But our ancestors thrived and survived in tribes. Men working together with other men to get shit done for the survival of the tribe. And nowadays we're so isolated, so disconnected, and just packing all the stuff around in that echo chamber in our head. And we don't even know that. And so, for example, I do small group workshops in my home in Puerto Vallarta. So it'll be 8 guys in my office. We're together for a weekend. I tell the guys Friday night, I said, Friday night, tonight, we're just going to get to know each other. And I said, you're all looking at each other, measuring each other, judging each other. Hierarchies are being, I like that guy. I'm not going to like him. I wish he hadn't come. That guy reminds me of a jerk I used to know. I said, you're going to be doing that. It's normal. I said, by Sunday, you guys are going to feel like you've been frat brothers for 20 years. You're going to love each other. And you're going to really see past all this. And you're just going to see each person for who they are. And you're going to love each other. And they can't grasp it. But so Friday night, we spend 3 hours. And we just started getting to know each other. And I said, why are you here? Why'd you spend a few $1,000s to fly to Mexico to come work? And all it takes is for one guy to go a little bit deep, a little bit vulnerable, a little bit authentic. Say, I can't quit looking at porn. And it's fucking my marriage up. One guy came to a workshop with me a few months back. It was like in March, he'd known since November that his wife was cheating on him, had not brought it up, had evidence, and just was living with it from November to March. The night before he got on the airplane to fly to Puerto Vallarta, he confronted her. They were up till like 2, 3 in the morning fighting about it. So he shows up at the workshop raw and starts, and he was like just really controlling and rigid. And I go, okay, we got work to do. But it takes, and by the end of the workshop, my wife even commented, that one guy that just seemed so, he really opened up and really got connected and was really happier. And she goes, yeah, he really evolved. But it takes one guy to share a little bit, be real. Nobody overreacts. Nobody, criticizes them. Everybody says, okay, yeah, cool. Or maybe even, and then the next guy feels a little bit bolder. He shares a little bit more. Another one goes deeper. Another one, and we get down to the things we're in pain about, that we're struggling about, that's not working so well in our life, that we've been packing around inside of us. And we start sharing it in this safe place with strangers, but because they're revealing, they feel safe. And then we start cutting past our judgments and our criticism, our projections, and we start going, I kind of like that guy. We get past the defense mechanism and neuroses to see the real person. And then by the weekend's over and they've gone out and had dinner together, had fun, they leave Sunday and they really do have that tight bond. And they're happy, they're excited, they're loving themselves. They've got a plan for moving forward. So not only do they get close to other men who will be a support system, they maybe revealed a lot of their own toxic shame. They've got some new tools. They have a greater acceptance of themselves. This guy likes me. Or that person shared about his porn habit, and I don't judge him. Why am I judging myself in the same way? So there's just something about that power. And again, I've worked with men pretty exclusively for 20 years now, that we men just need other men to cut through our stereotypes of men. Men are all jerks. Men are all womanizers. Men just talk about sports like you and I do. Men just do that. Men just look at asses like we did with the yoga chicks this morning, right? But it's more than just that. We also go deep and we get real. We can be authentic. And then we don't feel so alone. And then we don't feel defective. And then maybe I even get resourced because you share something you're doing. And I go, I like that. I'm going to start doing that too. Or I support you in some way. And now we're not carrying that load alone. It's not just in the echo chamber of our head. We're more accepting of ourselves, the more we just, us being us, it makes us more attractive. It makes us more successful. It makes us happier. It makes us more optimistic. It makes us excited about life because we are accepting ourselves.
Yeah.
And you can't do that by yourself.
Agreed. A couple of things I've learned from being exposed to this work. And it doesn't even have to be, in my opinion, just gathering formally in a group. It's like you could go out to get cigars with some of the dudes. It could be super informal, but the second you guys decide, like have a desire to drop in and really get vulnerable, is when real connections are made. So a couple of observations that I've had was, one, sometimes like the solution to getting over the habit or the pain that you have is simply just like having other people around you no longer judge it or shame, because you're no longer bringing the judgment and the shame to it. So it almost gets you out of the pain loop itself. But then two was, how cool is it the fact that when you get around men that are able to be vulnerable, some of my best friends are like people I've met like 6 months ago at this point, because you're building years worth of friendships in such a short amount of time.
You and I are talking on August 2nd, that's today's date. I met you April of the same year. And really didn't even get to be around you all that much because you were sick. You know, we just met on this trip. I didn't know you before, you didn't know me. And we went to a baseball game together. So what better bond is there, right? And now I feel like I love you. You're a brother of mine, you know, and we haven't even known each other all that long, but we got to know each other in a situation that was open and accepting, where it was safe to reveal, be yourself, have your struggles, you know, learn from each other, be supported by each other. And we men thrive in that environment. We thrive. That's, if we're going to fix anything in this world, if we're going to give women, you know, what they're really seeking, is because we men are going to sharpen each other and learn to love each other, and then take that to the world and take that to the women in our life.
Something that saddens me a lot is the, like when I look at my dad's generation and his parents' generation.
That's probably my age, or he's probably younger than my dad.
You, right? That being said, like that generation, my grandparents' generation, he's 85 at this point. You know, a lot of them are immigrants having come to America that literally experience like real problems of like escaping communism or World War II or not knowing when their next meal was, et cetera.
Exactly.
And then their trauma gets passed down to my dad. The thing I struggle with is knowing that like there's a likelihood that they may never get exposed to this work or do this work, and they're going to die this way.
Yeah.
How can we potentially get this into that generation of like just relative stubbornness that's unwilling to change?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question. How do we reach the old folks?
Yeah.
It's coming from a guy who's almost 70. How do we get in touch with the old folks? Let's talk about this energetically first. I'm told there's a Native American philosophy that when any individual does their work in the now, and it's also reflected in kind of Eastern philosophy as well, that you are healing 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. Yeah, even if you never have kids, for example. We are making a difference in maybe the epigenetic pain, loss that goes back, and we're making a difference going forward. So one level of answering your question, maybe we don't even have to go reach your 85-year-old grandparents. Maybe we don't have to go give them a good book to read, or, you know, get them to watch some YouTube channel. Maybe just energetically, the way we show up around them impacts them, has an impact. My mother turned 90 in May. And I try to visit her as often as I can. Odds are she'll die before me. Who knows? And I believe just by me visiting her, preparing good meals, playing Mexican Train with her, where she gets to invite some of her friends over, and we do that pretty much every night. I'm there whenever I visit. I think I've extended her life, given her a higher quality of life, without me having to change anything about who she is. And maybe that's good enough. Maybe that works. And just, again, maybe just energetically, the work we do has that rippling impact in ways we can't see, that we can't even know. We just don't know. I think I was telling you or Brian last night, I started working with a corporate attorney when I was launching a new business and got to talking to her and just mentioned, my book. And she goes, I think my husband has your book on his bookshelf. And she said he went to a workshop where that was a book they talked about. So here I am. I don't know the impact I have on people. I know I make an impact, but I have no idea how big that impact is. When we were in Japan, when we were in Tokyo, I'm having breakfast in the Tokyo Grand Hyatt, downtown Tokyo. Don't know soul other than the group of guys that, the people I didn't know before I got there, having breakfast. I'm sitting by myself that morning. A guy comes walking up to me and says, in Tokyo, are you Dr. Glover? That's kind of one of my few celebrity sightings, but in Tokyo. And then I actually bumped into him on a street because he's an American guy. And so I said, how do you know me? Well, I've read your book. I watched you on YouTube. And I go, how cool is that? I'm in Tokyo. So that's not to say, oh, how cool, I'm a celebrity. But it does say we don't know the depth of the impact we might have on other people. We might not ever know, probably won't know in a lot of ways. Gandhi said, whatever we do might be insignificant, but it's still important we do it anyway. So just you having 30 seconds of greater consciousness in a day. David Data says you'll lose present moment awareness 100,000 times a day. Get it back 100,000 times a day. So you just having a moment of clearer consciousness, of awareness of yourself, of awareness of a person, being more attentive, better listener, having more empathy, setting a role model, just be you being you being in good shape. For example, if I see a guy walk by that's got good posture, it's obvious he goes to the gym, he doesn't have to say a word to me. He's not flexing, he's not doing anything. He just walks by me and goes, I need to get to the gym. That guy didn't know he had that impact on me, but I see the effect on his body, how he walks, his posture, and I go, I got to get to the gym. So maybe that's how we have the impact on the world. It's not that we got to write a book, start a YouTube podcast, but maybe just the way we get up and walk down the street, maybe the way you walk Ella in the morning along the river has already impacted lives that you don't know about.
Sure. So Matthew McConaughey talks about being an egotistical utilitarian. So it's like how can I become the best version of myself and expand my consciousness so that I can do that for the greater good of the world. So what you're saying is it starts with you.
And that acceptance of you,
yep,
including accepting your needs, your wants, things you like, don't like, your dickishness, your selfishness, your control. Yeah, start with you of learning to love all aspects of you. And that makes you, not only does it impact the world, it makes you amazingly attractive to all things feminine. Women, dogs, cats, babies, money, adventure, opportunity. Just because you're comfortable in your own skin. You're comfortable with you. And that's just amazingly attractive.
As someone who aspires to be a dad, what...
Did you need help knowing how to go about that, or...
Well, yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. So
it's really very simple. I mean, if you didn't get that in 6th grade,
yeah, so the untangible parts of being a dad,
okay,
not the scientific way of making children. What shifts can I make, and how can I gain a lot more consciousness around having my child go through less pain than I had to go through, of putting my hand on the stove less amount of times before I came to these realizations? Like, what are some of the important parts of a child's development where the parent has an opportunity that they hit their kid at a crossroads? Do you understand what the question is?
Well, like guys will say, Robert, how can I help my son not turn out to be a nice guy?
Sure.
Right. You've asked, how do I help my kid not go through as much pain as I did? Unfortunately, that's the wrong question to ask, because my doctorate's in marriage and family therapy. So, I've done a lot of work with couples and families. And I found that in general, parents tend to parent in one of two ways. They tend to unconsciously either parent just like they were parented, so just keep passing on, or they try to parent in the exact opposite of the way that they were parented, which is not necessarily what your child needs, right? I think this comes from 12 steps. The opposite of crazy is still crazy. And people always ask me what that means. Well, if like my dad did this, for example, my dad bossed my mother around, I better do the opposite. Well, but if that's still just a reaction to a crazy state, that means I now don't let my wife do anything for me, like when she wants to. So that's not a good. So I went online a little while back, because I was writing a blog article, and I use that line: the opposite of crazy is still crazy, and everybody always asks what that means. I thought, well, I better give credit to. I thought I'd heard it in 12 steps, so I Googled who said the opposite of crazy is still crazy. And it said, Dr. Robert Glover said the opposite of crazy is still crazy. I go, oh, okay. But if you say it enough, I guess you get credit for it. So if, for example, you're trying to parent your kid in a better way than you got parented, well, you might just flip over here and become the helicopter parent and try to protect them from everything, to where they don't go through any of the pain you went through and don't struggle with it. And maybe you stunt them. Maybe they now have to rebel against your controlling protection of them. So just reacting is not necessarily the most effective way to parent. I think the most effective way to parent is you keep working on you keep growing, keep working on loving and nurturing and taking care of your own inner child, like you're doing, in the family systems work you're doing. And recognize that your child is a unique human being, unlike any other, and how to parent that child will be an evolving process that you'll learn. Say you have 2 kids. They will pop out differently. I promise you. One kid, you might look at them cross-eyed and they get in line. Another kid, doesn't matter what you do, they're going to be oppositionally defiant and push back against you. You're going to have a different approach, right? One child needs more structure and discipline. Another needs more freedom and a longer rope. You don't know that until you get the kid. Now, as long as you keep working on you, I think you'll be a good dad. I've asked adults. I've asked people in their 60s, parents still alive, in their 80s. And I've said, maybe they've got all this grief from their parents being a shitty parent when they were a kid. They're in therapy working on it in their 60s. And I've asked people, if your father came to you, said, I'm sorry, I really messed up. I could have done so much better. I really see how I did this that hurt you. Or I wasn't there for you, or I was too critical, or I wanted too much of you. Or I've asked people, how would that impact you? And they just start crying. They go, I would love that. And so what I've been telling parents for years, it's not how you fuck your kids up, because you're human. It's how you recover from how you fuck your kids up. So you make a mistake with your kid, and either that's one reason I'm a big fan of having 2 parents raising kids. One of the things I've told parents for years is the job of each parent is to protect the kids from the other parent. Because you're bringing your baggage with you, in your blind spots and your dickishness, and maybe you're too lenient, and maybe your wife's too harsh. And the more harsh your wife is, the more lenient you get. The more lenient you get, the more harsh she gets. So your wife needs to protect the kids from your leniency, and you need to protect the kids from their harshness, and you need to do that with love, right? How can you keep loving the mother of your children and know that you have to protect your children from their blind spots, their woundings in childhood, their projections, their control issues, their fears? And so I can't give you this one rule that says, here's how you do to protect your kids. Your kids are going to need to go through pain. They're going to need to struggle. They're going to need to have disappointments, and they're going to need to have imperfect parents, because they're going to go live in an imperfect world. And what's best, though, is that if you can meet their needs, if you're attentive, getting your own needs met, your partner's getting her needs met, you have a cooperative reciprocal relationship with each other, but lots of other CRRs that are filling your buckets, not dependent on each other. Your bucket's full enough that you see what your kids need in any given moment. And for this kid, it might be this, and it might be completely different for this kid. You give to their needs in timely, judicious, and consistent ways. It creates an internal emotional belief in the child. I'm lovable. My needs are important. and the world is like my family. So that's the best guide I can give you. Pay attention, fill your needs, pay attention to them, meet their needs in those timely, judicious, consistent ways. They internalize an emotional belief. I'm good. My needs are important. The world's like my family. Can you imagine going to kindergarten with the emotional belief? I'm lovable. My needs are important. Kindergarten's going to be just like my family. Or junior high. I'm lovable. My needs are important. Junior high is just like my family. Dating in high school, first job, playing sports. Yeah, I'm lovable. My needs are important. And baseball is just like my family. Think of the difference, the impact your children would have in the world if they just had those 3 beliefs. So it doesn't matter, again, how you do this or how you do that. If you are conscious enough to see where you messed up, where you're not loving them enough, meeting their needs in a timely, judicious way, consistent way, and then just keep autocorrect, correct. And
Sure.
we just keep recovering from the mistakes we make and not judging ourselves, not criticizing ourselves. And children are resilient. You probably have known people who have horrendous childhoods. I've known people with horrendous childhoods, and they're out there just killing it in life. So we're resilient. We can overcome a lot. So go fuck your kid up, but just keep learning from it as you go.
That's good. So, focus on yourself first. Go fuck it up as fast as you can so you can focus on the repairing.
Yeah. Fuck forward, fuck fast.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Is that how that works?
In the context of kids, that sounds horrible.
We really are going to have to put this in context.
Yeah.
Don't make that an Instagram clip.
We're gonna
fuck
clip
forward,
that one out.
fuck fast.
Yep. Dr. Glover all over the news. Cool. As we near the wrap up point here, I have a couple friends that had brought in some questions because I have a lot of friends that love your work. So we did a little phone a friend thing. So I have a dear friend that's going through some murky waters in his relationship. And he asks, how do I reconnect with my core masculine energy when I feel lost and uncertain after a breakup?
Men, you got to spend time with men. That's kind of my basic solution to most everything for men. Spend time with men. Whether it's just friendship, hanging out, going for a walk, finding a men's group, got to be with men. Again, it's in our DNA. We need our tribe. And as a marriage therapist for years, I told every couple that walked in my office, best thing you can do for your marriage is have good same-sex friends. Women tend to keep their friends. Now, they're on and off, and they fight, and they got all their petty drama. Men, we get in a relationship, we tend to lose our friends. Now we got our work, we got our woman, then maybe kids come along, and our friends got their woman and their work, and we lose that connection. But I'm convinced, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I've seen it in my own life, I've seen it in countless men. If you have a good foundation of good men in your life, that's what you build a healthy relationship with a woman on. And especially when men say, oh, my woman's my best friend. I go, you're in big trouble. What if your best friend's pissed off at you and thinks you're a fucking asshole? Who are you going to go talk to? Well, your best friend thinks you're a fucking asshole. You better have guy friends who don't think you're a fucking asshole. I remember years ago when I was married to my second wife, I went for a period with no friends, and I got a really good friend. And my wife and I hung out with him and his wife. And I remember my wife came back from therapy one time. She says, everybody in my women's group thinks you're a fucking asshole. And I'm sitting here thinking, number one, what are you telling them?
Yeah.
Number two, did they really say that? And number three, why are you telling me that? What's your point you're trying to make? And that hurt. I mean, if your wife thinks you're a fucking asshole and is telling you that everybody in her women's group thinks you're a fucking asshole, sometimes you have to let go of the things you love to get the things you want. That's one of the things I had to move on from. But I'm telling him, we're having a barbecue with my friend. And I told him that. And I said, this is what my wife told me. My friend Greg says, Cindy and I don't think you're an asshole. That just changed everything. That was just what I needed to hear from a guy friend. He didn't think I was an asshole. Because, I was struggling with that one. Why is my wife telling me that? Why does she think that about me? And so I just needed that support. And again, if we've got good guys in our life, we can handle the ups and downs of a relationship. We've got the stability. When I'm struggling with my wife, my friends know about it. When I'm happy with my wife, my friends know about it. When I'm, distracted thinking, oh, yeah, I kind of like the attention that woman's paying to me. My guy friends know about that too, right? I know to share that with them because I know my slippery slopes. So no matter where you're at in life, I'm convinced life works better if you've got that tribe, you got that foundation, whether it's just a good guy friend or two, just regular hanging out with a guy friend, guys night out, men's group, 12-step group, church group, whatever. When men let the tribe go, everything else gets harder and everything else, starts sliding, slipping.
Sure. How do you ensure that you're around the right men that will not just continue to confirm your bias? Like, for example, I don't want to be around men that tolerate me just venting all the time, because I believe what you focus on expands. So if I'm just continuously talking about the problem with no one checking me or giving me any solutions, we're just kind of perpetuating the problem into a bigger one.
Yeah.
How do you create enough awareness to understand that these people are actually truly giving you the feedback that you need, not that you want?
Yeah. That's a good question because, iron sharpens iron. David Data talks about this in Way of the Superior Man. He said, we need a group of men. He said, if we're showing up complaining all the time, we need a group of guys to say, get off the shit or get off the pot, sure. Right? Quit complaining about this. Like I said, when my coaches recently just said, quit being so codependent. It's like, yes, I needed to hear that because I've been a victim. I didn't feel good of being a victim and they just could hear it. And I've got those people in my life that they'll let me know when I'm being a victim, when I'm being a dick, when I'm being seduced by my, whatever, when my ego's taking over. I got guys enough. I got a group of guys I've been with for 7 years. There's 7 of us. We haven't lost one guy in this group. We met in a men's program. We talk every other week for 90 minutes. We're in it for life. We're going camping together in about 3 weeks. And I just know these guys will call me out on anything. They love me to death. They've seen me go through every phase of my marriage. They've seen me, my successes and my failures in business. And they'll be there for me. If I'm heartbroken, they'll be there for me. If I'm being a dick, they'll point it out to me. And that takes time. But it's believe it or not, it's a lot easier to do than you might think. I think if, men say, where can I find a group like that? And I go, well, start with a best friend or two, if you've got them, and then say, hey, how about you invite a couple guys? I'll invite a couple guys, and let's, twice a month, let's get together and just talk about real shit. Or just say, I need a men's group. I need a men's program. Ask it. Tell a few people. Go search on the internet for it. They'll show up. They'll find us. And I think the main thing is the container of that, whatever, if it's 2 or 3 guys just getting together once a month, or if it's a men's group or 12-step group, is a container such that nobody is allowed to just like drone on about, their victim bullshit story without somebody at some point saying, you ready to do something?
Yep.
Right. You ready to do something? When I was, in private practice, doing a lot of work, a lot of coaching, a lot of therapy, a lot of groups, I'd tell somebody that came to group or came to therapy, I said, you got 2 groups to come be a victim. Come complain for 2 sessions. When the second session's over, no more complaining, no more victim. We go to work. And so, we need to go complain a little bit, but then there's got to be, all right, it's time to get to work.
Sure.
And so if there's somebody in that group that basically with love, one way or another, to say, you want some feedback? You ready to do some work? Can I take out the big stick? You all right with that? And one of my books is called The Big Stick because I love that with men. I'll tell men just a really core, direct truth that my inside I'm going, oh, fuck, I don't know how he's going to take it.
Yep.
And I've had guys say that they'll be in a group or they'll come back a week later and say, Robert, I was going to quit. I wasn't going to come back. I was really pissed at you last week. And the more I thought about it, I realized you're right. And I'm glad you said it. And I'm in.
Sure.
Where do we go? How do we work on this? Men are like that. In therapy, you can't do that with women. You can't take a big stick out and just with the confrontation. Men will thank you for it. So I love that about men. So, Yeah, we may have to hunt a little bit. We may have to experiment. It might be trial and error, but keep looking. And I'm a big believer, it'll find you. If you're open for it, it'll find you. Doors will open. And then here you are. Here's some good men that want to connect with you and hang out with you and go deep with you.
I think that's the importance of doing all the work as well. Is like to create enough security in your own self to be able to call out your boys, other men in those situations. Because if you're on
that's
a shaky
scary.
Foundation,
that's scary. Calling out your bro, saying, "Hey, bro, maybe you might want to look at this."
Yeah.
Is he going to be mad at me?
Yeah.
But that's love. That's love.
I appreciated our morning coffee this morning. Me, you, and Brian, we're just going back and forth. And hey, can I offer up some feedback here? Or hey, do you mind if I correct you there? That's what I think true friendship's about. It's not always rainbows and butterflies. It's having the harsh conversations.
We weren't just talking about documentaries we'd watched or YouTube videos or this influencer. Yeah, we were getting real with each other. I said a couple. I've known Brian, so I love Brian, and he's going to be on your show coming up soon. And I said, Brian, can I give you a little bit of feedback? And he goes, yeah, sure. And I go, yeah, might you be attached to a specific outcome here? He goes, a few sentences later, goes, yeah, you could be right. I might be attached to wanting this. I said, can I ask you a question? Yeah. What did the Buddha say about attachment? It's the cause of all suffering. I go, something to think about.
Sure.
Yeah, something to think about.
Yeah.
And I didn't say anything else. And and he knew it all came from love. And because it did. I love him. And do I have the answer for him? No. I don't have the answer. But I love him enough to, poke a little bit, see if that's helpful.
Well, I think what I think you do such a good job of is providing a space where you can ask people enough questions for them to find the answers themselves. Because I think that's the most powerful part of the healing process in general is like, I don't want to hear that you tell me the answer. I want to come to the answer and the conclusion myself because that allows me to get over it.
I don't have the answer of how you should parent your kids.
Sure.
But I might point you in a couple directions of things to look at.
Yep. Lastly, this new book that you're writing, do you want to share about it?
I have been for the last hour and a half. I've been talking all about it. I just didn't name it.
Does it expand on the nice guy topic? Where does it lead and how has it evolved from the?
It's I'd say more general. It's just written towards men.
Sure.
And just a little brief background. About 3 or 4 months ago, before I headed off to Japan, met you, this New York marketing company reached out to me and they said, we've seen your videos. We've seen you on YouTube. We love your message. We love your content. We launched Grant Cardone. We launched Mel Robbins. We want to make you a star. I go, well, okay, let's talk. We talked. And so we've been having calls and meetings for 3 or 4 months. They created a brand Bible for me of what is the work that I do. What is the work I do with men? What does I see as my mission? And out of that, created a hook and a particular message and a platform of moving that forward. And the hook is that we're working on is Guys Night Out. Is that we men to thrive at our best, and especially to have our deepest, most satisfying, intimate relationships, need that good foundation with men. And so the book is going to be dealing with just the isolation men have nowadays, the health issues we have because of that isolation, the struggles we have getting into relationship because of our disconnect from men, and not just giving simple platitudes and not just going into statistics, but giving men just real usable tools, both to make new friends, to find a men's group, to develop the friendships they already have into something deeper, and seeing that Guys Night Out isn't just this frivolous thing that takes time away from your wife and kids. It's an essential part of you filling your bucket up, creating those CRRs so you got more to give to the world, to your wife, to your woman, to your kids if you have them. So that's really going to be the theme, is how in the world we live in today with men so disconnected and isolated, how do we go about building a tribe to level us up to the best version of ourselves and help us have the best relationships we can have with the women in our life?
So good. I'm excited to read it because I also think this type of work continues to evolve as technology advances. It's never been more easy to disassociate as a man as well. You could just kind of go confide in the doom scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, etc.
Now just go talk with Chat GBT. Yeah. Now our best friends aren't even real people.
Yeah. And same thing with Zoom calls. Like they're effective, very effective, but in-person, belly-to-belly conversations. This is why it was so important. That I didn't want to do this on Zoom. We had talked about that in Japan.
When you said come to Tampa, I go, okay, let's do it. Why not?
Well, that's where I kind of want to leave this, where I just want to express some gratitude to you just for being somebody in my life that was willing to, for us having met. We had one day together, essentially. I was sick the entire time in Japan, besides one day we got
and we're watching a baseball game, guys day out at the Tokyo Dome, and just having a guys time with the ball game.
I don't take it lightly that you're even extending your trip tomorrow. You're not somebody that will do things that he doesn't want to do. Especially when you're away from home, away from Lupita, away from your baby girl dog,
away from Nala.
Yeah, man. So I just want to thank you, and the opportunity to build such a deep relationship so quickly, and be able to get vulnerable, not just on a podcast format, but having these same exact conversations when we're off camera. It's been a huge piece of my life.
Honestly, I said yes for selfish reasons. Well, number one, I never been to Tampa. Number two, I liked you, and number three, I thought, I get to get on a plane and go hang out with good men. And anytime I get to go hang out with good men, I mean, my wife and I were just talking about this recently. She recently accused me of having a girlfriend in Austin because of how many times I've been to Austin lately. And we were out camping, and I said, listen, you go to dance lessons 4 nights a week. You go out to dance on the weekend. You take trips to go dance. You're the life of the party. You're an extrovert. You have friends. Every night you go out, you're around people who love you. I said, I got no friends here where we live. I said, my friends are all. I said, so I have to get on an airplane to go have that good connection with men. And I said, I got to have that connection with men. So I don't have a girlfriend in Austin. I got a bunch of guy friends in Austin. And like, she goes, yeah, sure, go. So yeah, when I get an invitation to go hang out with good men, I'm a yes to that. So thank you for the invitation.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. I can't wait to have you on again and just continue to do life with you, man. Thank you so much.
I love it. Yeah, I'll come hang out with Ella anytime.
Good stuff.